Good morning, everyone. Welcome you all for an interesting session on textile sector prospects and way forward for being a global leader. I welcome Shri Prashant Agarwal ji to take the session. He is from Wazir. He is the MD of Wazir Advisors, and they're executing a lot of projects in our territory with Reliance, Bilosa, and all big industries, and they are well known in the country. So I welcome you, Prashant Agarwal ji, for taking the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all the honored guests present over here, and thank you for giving this opportunity. As Wazir Advisors, we are management consultants who are working with industry. 95% of our work is with industry in textile, food, and retail value chain. But we are working closely with a lot of state government as well as Center for All Policy Making. So today, a lot of big schemes are coming, and they are taking our inputs in policy making because we understand and work that what if we invest, how it will help a company to come up with more projects. So this is the basic idea, and that's why we are involved in policy making also. So we are considered as thought leaders. So I will share with you in today's presentation some of my views or our views which are heard by government as well as the industries to plan a future strategy that how we should move forward. So this will be my sharing. So let me straight away go to the presentation so that. So the presentation I have made in terms of what are the prospects of Indian textile industry and what is the way forward, because we are talking about where we should invest, how we should invest so that we are more profitable and where our industry is heading. तो जब मैं ये presentation देता हूँ तो I always want people to understand some numbers also so that they understand the perspective in which we are talking, not only in terms of what's going to happen, but really what's happening globally and where India stands. So ये presentation मैंने 5 भाग में divide की है. One is global textile and apparel industry scenario, Indian textile and apparel industry scenario, government support to promote Indian textile and apparel industry, then opportunities in India, and the way forward, what we should do as a. So if you go through this presentation, you will have answers to all these questions. As far as presentation is concerned, I have already given this presentation to Krishna ji. He can, whoever wants to go through it again, have notes, they can, Krishna ji can share my presentation with all of you. So this is very important slide where we are saying in 2019, before COVID, global textile and apparel industry trade was $839 billion. तो मतलब ये नंबर इसलिए very important कि ये trade is a very big trade. It's not a small trade. $840 billion worth of global trade. So there are companies who are making this much amount of product and they are selling to different countries worldwide. So out of that, if you see the share of India in terms of fiber is 5.8%, yarn 10%, fabric 3.2%, apparel garments 3.4%, home textiles 8.3%. So India still has major part of share less than 5%. In yarn and home textiles, which we are strong, we have around 10% share. So there is a huge scope. जब हम 830, अब ये जो 840 बिलियन डॉलर है अभी डिप हुआ है, again it has recovered and now by 2025 this trade will be $1 trillion. तो मार्केट अपॉर्चुनिटी बहुत है. अब उसमें से हमें क्योंकि ग्लोबल बात कर रहे हैं, आगे मैं इंडिया की बात करूंगा, तो वी हैव टू प्रोड्यूस कॉम्पिटिटिवली. ऐसा नहीं है कि अब कुछ भी बनाएंगे बच जाएगा, बट अगर कॉम्पिटिटिवली बनाया तो 100% मार्केट इज सो बिग, इट्स गोइंग टू ग्रो. So from there on, let me now, first I talked about trade. अब मैं आपको बात कर रहा हूं कि ये फाइबर का क्या मिक्स है वर्ल्ड वाइड और आगे क्या होने वाला है. आज की डेट में अगर आप देखेंगे 2019 का डाटा ज्यादा पहले देखें, 2019 में आपका पॉलिस्टर का शेयर 19-20 की बात करें 55%, 55%, कॉटन 27% and others is 17.6 which comes to viscose, wool and all other fibers. अब ये शेयर अगर हम बात करें 2030 में, अगले 7-8 साल में, पॉलिस्टर विल मूव फ्रॉम 55 to almost 60%, कॉटन शेयर विल रिड्यूस एंड अदर्स. सो वी नो दैट आज की डेट में पॉलिस्टर फाइबर पहले जो अपने सूरत वगैरह सब जगह बनता था, ये लगता था इट्स अ पुअर मैन्स फैब्रिक, पुअर मैन्स फाइबर. ऐसा है नहीं. आज आप बेस्ट ऑफ डिजाइनर हाई एंड प्रोडक्ट्स में भी जाएंगे तो वहां पर पॉलिस्टर, विस्कोस, स्पेंडेक्स, so many blends people are using to enhance the properties of the fabric. So blends will be used, more of synthetic will be used because cotton has a limitation in terms of how much. Today cotton production is around 26 million ton. It might go to 30 million ton. So there is no scope of expanding the fiber growth as per the demand in the market. So that's one has to keep in mind that future, I'm not saying future is cotton is not the fiber. Future where growth is going to happen more in polyester, cotton will remain to that position. That's how it's going to happen. So strategically, it's a big trade. First slide I talked about, and then we are saying there is a India as a country, while we are more cotton dominating, world is more polyester dominated or synthetic dominated, and we have to move for our business opportunity from cotton to polyester or cotton to synthetic viscose, where the major part of product and product basket will grow. Now, let me also talk about Abhi, because initially I am giving you a macro picture. So, what are the structural shift impacting the global textile industry? When you see in terms of fiber shift, I have already talked about synthetic fibers are gaining more importance. On manufacturing shift, while we are talking about such a big trade, there is manufacturing is influenced by 3 C's: cost, competitiveness, and closeness. So in all these segments, one has to see that our manufacturing, whatever the factories that we are setting up, are competitive in cost, are close to the market. Nowadays, with so much disturbance happening, people are saying we will be producing there in market also. And there are countries like India and China which has the production as well as market also. So similarly, you will see there is a lot of shifts which will happen where markets are there. Some kind of products where automation is possible, markets will shift. The production will also shift there. Technology shift. Today we are in a technology era where we have to see that all new factories which are set up have manufacturing and supply chain excellence through Industry 4.0. The kind of automation, IT systems, all it has to be enabled to make it more productive and competitive. Consumption shift. The fashion consumption will continue to evolve by technology and innovation. There are new innovations which will happen in terms of fabric, which are aligned to the usage of the kind of product and activity that we are performing. Environmental shift. Everybody knows, globally, all the brands are also talking about how sustainability will be the future, a strong pillar for future growth. So I think on a broader level, we have talked numbers, we have talked fiber, and now we are saying if as a business we follow these principles, which will impact, then we can't fail. So, but we have to understand all these components clearly to be successful in this industry. What are the trends? So now let's go to a macro trends. There are evolving consumer and retail trends where people are talking about post-COVID more about health, hygiene, safety, major criteria. People have moved toward comfortable clothing. So even when we talk about knits and woven, people are more going towards knit. For there are still work from home being operational, but those who are even going to office, they are used to so much comfortable clothing. So you will see in US today 20% of suits which were made of woven fabric are made of knits. You can't recognize from a distance that it is a suit made out of knits or woven. So this is the change which are happening. Rapid growth of e-commerce, functional garments are coming. So this is one of the trends which will impact the future of the business. Buyers are diversifying, and this is a fact. People, it's not talk being happening. It's the only thing is, buyer, does he get a factory anywhere else which is as competitive as China, which can supply products at cost, product variety, service levels which China. Nobody can ship from China and come to India because China has been giving a scale. So if they will move to India. Somebody might. So I was in buyers meeting and somebody said, "Sir, I will put up a 500 machine garment factory. Will you give me orders?" And he was seeing here and there. He was saying, ki, at least when you ask for orders, I can give you commitment if you produce that quality I want. But at least we should set up 2,000 machines, 1,000 machines factory. You should not talk about small because that's different. And if you want to change from China, so China people are diversifying, but which country is taking advantage is a big question mark. Sustainability, I have already talked about. Digitalization, I have already talked about. So these are the global trends which are going to impact the industry in a big way. Now let's talk about Indian textile and apparel industry. This is India's exports. If you see, we reached in 1920 to $36 billion exports. It dipped in COVID times. Now last year ending March, we have already crossed $40 billion. So this $40 billion in next 3-4 years will reach to almost $65 billion, where UK FTA being signed by the year end, $5-7 billion will change. $5 to $10 billion import will change in for UK market itself. There are other FTAs. Australia FTA is signed. UAE FTA is signed. So with these FTAs, the duty advantage that we are going to get. So I think I would say India is living in a golden era for textile and apparel industry, where there are a lot of schemes, incentives. There are FTAs being signed, and I'll talk about cost competitiveness also. If we do all of this, I think India has a bright future, where government might talk about $100 billion target by in next 5 years. But even if we add another $30 billion, $25-30 billion, it will be a good achievement for us. And going forward, we can achieve that 100 billion target also. For domestic market, again, as we discussed, we reached $40 billion in terms of exports. Domestic market is much bigger. We today, while $106 billion was the market before COVID, it has already almost reached to the same level of 106 billion. So export is 40 billion and domestic market is 106 billion. So we are saying that market in India, in domestic market, is much bigger, while the smaller players, and that's going to grow. By in another 4 years, with this pace, it will go to $190 billion. It has been growing at a CAGR of 10%. So we are saying from 106 billion, it will go to 190 billion. So we have an export opportunity, which we talked about again going to $1 trillion, and then domestic market of $190 billion. So these numbers becomes important before I go to nitty-gritties further, because once one understands how big is the market, you become more confident of expanding and investing. You know there's a scope, but the scope is when you take care of what we talk about Industry 4.0, what we talk about productivity, efficiency. Scope does not mean that if you are not competitive, still you will be able to sell. These are comparative cost, just some of the competitors who are there, like Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. So labor wages, we are lower than all of them, except Bangladesh. Chinese labor wages are almost 3 times that of India now, except Bangladesh, which is almost 15% lower than us. Earlier, they were 30-40% lower. Now, the difference is only 10 to 15%. Rest, all other countries have much higher wage cost than us. Power cost is also competitive in India. In your place, in Dadar, Nagar Haveli, the power cost is much cheaper. Water cost, lending rates have become very competitive. More than that, most of the state governments are giving huge interest subsidy on lending. So that finally for working capital is maybe this, but for others, but if you are in export, 3% government also give incentive on working capital. For investment, government, most of the state government gives 5% incentive. So I think in terms of cost competitiveness, the only focus which needs to be there is how do you train your people, how do you more productive, how your efficiencies can improve in terms of basic cost. This is like this everywhere else. We are as competitive as anywhere else. The only thing is we are lacking in productivity where we have to work. Schemes you must be knowing already. So when we are talking about large market of man-made industry, production linked incentive scheme which government has come up, which already they got a investment target of where they are able to have almost 25,000 crore worth of investment, but the target was 50,000 crore. They are discussing again to come out with PLI 2, but majorly for garment industry. So this discussion is on, but this will lead to huge investments. And while we are talking about PLI, there are investments in fiber and filament already happening. There are Mitra scheme where mega integrated textile parks are being set up all over India. Government, so we need to partner to have product development with research institutes. So all of these partner countries can be like Korea, Taiwan, Japan, where they are good in synthetics. As I told you, opportunity is good in synthetics, but we can set up factories on our own, as well as we can partner with countries like Korea, Taiwan, and Japan, who have developed a lot of capabilities over a period of time in this area. The government schemes, PLI, I already talked about, and then ATF scheme, assistance in like Mitra scheme, then their export promotion scheme. So government is giving various schemes. The kind of incentives which are available to this industry are not available to any other industry. So one has to really focus on the project, on the efficiency, productivity, and you should set up a separate department or uh, coordinate with an expert like us, so that who helps you keep getting incentive. But our focus should be, the company focus should be in producing the best product at the competitive cost. PLI incentive scheme सबको पता ही होगा, PLI 2 आ रही है. There will be some changes where you invest 100 crores, turnover of 200 crores, you get these incentive of 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Similarly, if you invest 300 crores and have a turnover of 600 crore, you get an incentive of 15, 14. So in first part, you get almost incentive of 200 crores over a period of 5 years. While in part 2, majorly incentive ranges around 50 crores. Where you are investing 100 crores. So almost more than investment you are getting. In part 2, half of the investment. In part 1, almost 60-70% of investment you are getting as subsidy from center. While over and above whatever state subsidies are, you will always get. So they are not either this or this. No, you will get both. Mitra Park, I have already talked about. The process is on. They are approved 7 parks. So which states it will approve, you can invest in any of those parks, and there will be incentive further to invest in those parks, and you will be getting everything at a very, very competitive price. Now, given you a complete macro picture in terms of how and what are the opportunities, which fibers you should invest, so all of that we have already discussed. What are the government schemes? Now let me talk about potential subsectors. Now let's talk about garments and home textiles. We know India has 10% share of home textiles global exports, and there are players like Wellspun, Trident, Indocount, Himmat Singha. So all of Alok, all of those players are there who are big and have invested hugely, and so India is known in home textiles worldwide. Similarly, in garment, our export was $16 billion, home textiles $5.4 billion, and with this rate of growth, we are talking about garment will move from 16 to 34, and home textiles. So there will be double up in next 4 or 5 years. So we can invest in garmenting, in home textiles, and Indian domestic market is also big in this. So whether in garmenting as well as home textiles, so we can set up businesses which can be supplying to domestic as well as export market. And some of the key categories will be knitted tops and bottoms, woven tops, women dresses, men's innerwear, home textiles. So these are garments and home textile category. Technical textiles like medical, protective, geotextiles, composite, agro textiles. तो मैं हर सेगमेंट की डिटेल में नहीं जा रहा हूं, बट ये दोनों की भी मार्केट ग्लोबली भी बड़ी है, इंडिया में बड़ी है, बट आई थिंक this is not, technical textile is not for everyone. Those who have mindset of product development, innovation, then only, it's not only on cost competitive basis. If you don't have that focus, I think this is not the segment one should focus on. We should focus on garment and home textiles and MMF textiles and garments. But if you have because the investment is low, turnover is low, margins are high, but innovation-led industry, it is an innovation-led industry. Then when we talk about MMF textiles and garments, the key categories are sportswear, activewear, outdoor clothing, winter garments, men's and women's wear, where India's export in this category is 3.5% billion dollar, and the global trade is 193. So India's share is, you can imagine, almost 2.3% kind of. So while this with PLI scheme, with a lot of investments happening in this area, this segment will grow at a 20% CAGR. तो अगले 4 साल में $3.5 billion, $10.5 billion का हो जाएगा. So the scope in this segment of MMF textiles and garments is huge, and you will know, you yourself are seeing how much activewear, sportswear, outdoor clothing, people go on mountains. So all of this is increasing so much. People are dying to buy good products in this segment. So broadly, huge, high future potential subsectors are garments and home textiles, MMF textiles and garments of synthetics, and then technical textiles. Again, one needs to go in detail to understand, but these are broad level numbers and an understanding. So what is the way forward for Indian textile and apparel industry? I think we have understood from numbers, focus on growth in exports and domestic market has to be good. So this is one area we are talking about focus. We have opportunity with the kind of numbers we are talking about in exports as well as domestic market. So, and then second is expand and create positioning in MMF in line of cotton. So India is good in cotton, but we have to really expand and create positioning in MMF fiber or synthetic fiber line, because the future expansions are happening in this segment, in this line. So if future is expanding in this, so we can't be lagging behind in this. We can't say that we are cotton dominated country, and already it is happening. The investments in synthetics are today more than cotton. While India has been good in cotton, it will remain good in cotton. Cotton will be competitive segment for India, but MMF is the future where a lot of investments is going to happen, and a lot of investment in yarn, fiber, fabrics, garments are going to happen. जब हम एक्सपोर्ट की अपॉर्चुनिटी, डोमेस्टिक की अपॉर्चुनिटी एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात करते हैं, आई थिंक वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट फॉर अस टू अंडरस्टैंड इज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एक्सीलेंस. मैं बार बार इस चीज को रिपीट कर रहा हूं कि अगर आप प्रोजेक्ट लगाते हैं, एक्सपोर्ट की बात करते हैं, मैं बता रहा हूं मार्केट बहुत है, डोमेस्टिक भी मार्केट बहुत है, बट वो मार्केट को आप तभी कैप्चर कर सकते हैं जब यू हैव डन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एक्सीलेंस, एंड इट हैज टू मेजर कंपोनेंट when we talk about manufacturing excellence. One is digital adoption, another is manpower training. Sometimes people say that, people don't work in India, their efficiencies are low, because what they have learned, they are able to work accordingly only. You have to train. Today, from your sales boy, sales girls, to your maids in house, to your students, to your carpenter, to a mechanic, to a textile worker, if you expect him to learn by observing only and don't give extra input in training at different levels, it's not a training one time when they are joining. There should be a continuous process of training to move to next level of skills. If that does not happen, manufacturing excellence will not come. So we have to invest. We are good at investing in machinery. Beyond that, when it's about good in investing in soft skills, we really lag. And I think this is where India has to focus. I would say Indian companies have a lot of money also. They are ready to invest. Machinery suppliers are there. The differentiator is not machinery technology, because everybody can have. The differentiator will be manufacturing excellence. And once you have manufacturing excellence and you are earning money, then building scale and product capabilities will come. You will only expand if you have this capability with you. So after all of this is considered, I think the important part for differentiation today is process and product sustainability. That's really, really important for us to understand that how we tap markets, create our positioning, do our training, build our capabilities, And sustainability should be part of every process. It should be part of process of even building, then processes, then product, then water consumption, then power consumption. So sustainability has to be accounted for, and our thought process should go, everything we are spending, how much sustainable it is. And that's what buyers is looking for. If you can create that differentiation, I think you are the winner. So uh, what my last slide of this presentation is, definitely we have, as I told you, scope in cotton and synthetics both. But what we should focus as India for the time being, if one thing you should talk about is expanding and creating a positioning for us in MF industry. You already in your place have companies like Reliance, Bilosa, who have invested, Alok, who have invested in a big way. They are present there. They are expanding big. So I think it's right time for us to focus on textile and apparel industry. It's right time for us to focus on MMF segment. While we are saying that we should focus big on MMF, government is supporting for both investment, infrastructure, FTA. I think this is what you can expect from government. Now, when we say opportunities is big, government is supporting. I think it's now time for companies to work on whether investments, partnership, when we are talking about partnerships with Korea, Taiwan, Japan, all over, and capacity building through training in India and outside. If we do these three, I think we will come out winners. And I have explained in all my slides, from market opportunity to competitiveness, to trends, to products categories. Everywhere opportunities like big, definitely one can do detailing of all of this. But this is my theme. I think this is the way forward for India. So now the baton is in the hands of industry. They have to invest, they have to talk about partnerships, and they have to do capacity building through training in India and outside. Thanks. This is what I wanted to present. Thanks to all of you and Wazir advisors. Thanks for this. Maybe I'm able to share, give a broad picture. And if you have any questions and queries, I will be happy to answer those. Thank you. Thanks from my side.
Thank you very much, Prashantji, for a wonderful presentation wherein the opportunities available in various segments have been clearly shown and the areas to invest are clearly shown. So, as you all know, we have around 20% of the world's population nearing, and we are only producing 5 to 10% of the textile clothing requirement. So, even to feed our population, we can produce more 10 more percent. So there is a lot of scope of expansion in the sector, and governments are actively encouraging the sector as PLI schemes or various state governments are doing a lot for the textile sector. All entrepreneurs should come forward and utilize this opportunity and invest in the textile sector, as well as the importance of soft skills development has been rightly focused by you. We all know we invest more on plant and machinery, but soft skills are a very important part. And giving more skill to a person to achieve more productivity, sending him for regular trainings, and following the best practices all over the globe, they should improve productivity in your companies. Hope all of you take a note of this and move forward. And if anyone have doubts, may please ask Prashantji.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Jeet Yadav, President of Federation of Industries of Dadra Nagar Haveli. I am in polyester industry since last 40 years. Today I have seen your presentation. It is very impressive and knowledgeable. And I am very much impressed with the data you have shown. Really, polyester or man-made fiber has a very important and have a very good future for this textile growth. And keeping in mind, government has introduced this PLI scheme that is totally based on man-made textiles, fabrics, and all. No doubt, in India we are facing some goodness in processing industry, it is a chain between the fabric and the apparel. If our processing industry improves in a good way, I think our apparel industry will move faster, which I feel.
Right.
Because in China, from China, the quality of fabric we get, uh, we are not able to make not able to make such quality of fabrics. Uh, you are the advisor in so many boards of government of India and as well as in textile. So my request is, as PLI scheme is for large scale for 100 CR and 200, 300 CR, it should be for MSME also for 50 CR and so that our industry can grow in a proper way. First thing. Second thing, government is no doubt government is giving so much incentives, but some incentives for processing industry is also needed, keeping in mind the future as well as the environment also. So our industry should grow in a friendly environmental say pace. I request you to add these things in your portfolio to forward to the government. However, I am totally satisfied with your datas and everything. Is very much impressive and very knowledgeable. And I promise you, because I am man of textile, so I will convey these presentations to all our fellows or to the all groups. Thank you very much, and we will definitely will be eager in future if you have such type of presentation. Make us the part of it. Thank you very much.
Sure, sure. We will send you the presentation, sir. Thank you for your detailed answer. One thing I want to inform you that while government has not announced anything, Secretary will be discussing tomorrow the new PLI scheme that they want to launch, and there are interactions going on. But that 50 crore target that you are talking about, that will come. Be assured.
Thank you.
So you should be ready for investment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I think ATF is also going to be revised this year.
That is also being revised. So it is converted into TTDS scheme.